The one that made me laugh the most was this concept. I don't know if it is a joke. If it is a joke, well done to Labor for having a good sense of humour. I'm impressed. They're suggesting Linda Burney as our next Governor-General. Now, that I thought was a great one, a great gag.
Well,
I was hoping someone was taking the mickey with that one. But this is what you do in Labor. You reward the person who did a really bad job by giving them a really important job.
I got to stop you there. This would be, Linda Burney as Governor-General would be the most brilliantly cynical move by Labor. Think about it. They would, A, move Linda Burney, who failed at her job to get the voice anywhere, near even 50% as the Indigenous Australians Minister. Her own seat voted against it. She was a woeful performer in Question Time. I watched her every day of Question Time during that, and she simply could not answer basic questions on it in return to the most basic sort of dot points. Her staff should be sacked for that stuff. But put her in the Governor-General's role, and all of a sudden, well, it's a great thumb in the eye to the monarchists, because you've got this move to then now make this now an office held by an Indigenous Australian, and then it will then be a push to move that republic and that agenda through another means.
Yeah, you're right. And what this Matt Thistlethwaite character, the Minister for the Republic. The Republic is now dead as Monty Python's Norwegian blue parrot. So what's he going to do? So you're right. This is another move towards the Republic. It never stops. Labor never stops. We've got to get rid of Labor, get them out at the next election, get a coalition government in, and hopefully a better one than the last coalition government. Sorry, Rita.
And hopefully we start seeing, because of The Voice, some backbone in some of our politicians. You talked about this agenda going ahead despite the people being very clear in where they stand on this issue. Well, a big part of that is the calibre of Conservative politicians in this country.
Yep.
Now, we saw in Queensland, as soon as the opposition there said, we withdraw our support for the treaty, what did Anastasia Palaszczuk do? Said, we ain't having a treaty because she's not silly. She knows there's an election coming up and she would be absolutely trashed.
And let's say congratulations to Chris Tafouli, who's the Queensland Liberal opposition. We slammed him very hard when he went in for the treaty, but he opposed The Voice, and now he's opposed the treaty as well. So well done. That's the way for Liberals to go. It's called being in opposition. You oppose. That's what you do, and then you win. That's how you win government, guys.
You're missing New South Wales, though. New South Wales, which is a disaster on this front here.
Totally.
Chris Minns, the Premier, Labor Premier, has walked back from the treaty. He said that's not happening until after the next election. He's just putting that over to the side. At the same time, we haven't heard anything from the leadership of the Liberal Party.
Mark Speakman
in New South Wales,
supporting The Voice.
Who supported, he supported The Voice, even though the state went majority against it. The overwhelming majority of Liberal Party members
So what's he doing in a job, James? Why is he still in a job? Get rid of the guy.
Well, maybe it's 2 words, Matt Keane.
Well, that's it. I mean, Matt Keane had a big part to play in the fall of Dominic Perrottet, and I think he's going to do that.
Which we predicted on this show. The moment Dominic Perrottet said that Matt Keane was his sidekick, we said on this show, that's the end of Dominic Perrottet. That's the end of the Libs in government in New South Wales. We were correct. When are the Libs going to learn? Well, hopefully they have learned under Peter Dutton. But whether you're listening to Simon Birmingham or you're listening to Matt Keane or you're listening to Mark Speakman, you are doomed to fail. That's how you lose, by listening to the bedwetters. If you want to win, you oppose Labor. Seems pretty simple, James.
Well, exactly right. But, Mark Speakman, when I spoke to his office at the start of this whole debate, they said, oh, well, he looked at this from a barrister's point of view, and I thought, there's an alarm bell. Who does that remind you of? and then they said, oh, well, it's legally safe. Well, that's not really the issue here.
No, exactly.
Striking a treaty, nations.
Well, he was talking about The Voice, but yeah.
You don't have people striking treaty with their own people, and it's in Victoria. You say New South Wales is a disaster. At least Minns has walked back from this and is going to wait till the next election, at least to have some sort of a mandate to press ahead. Victoria, we know there is no mandate because 55% of Victorians said no, and yet we've got the coalition who are so weak that they are refusing to say, we withdraw our support, if they press ahead and continue down this road, we're going to reverse it if we
So Janet Albrechtsen, sorry guys, Janet Albrechtsen had a phenomenal article in the Weekend Australian yesterday, which everybody should go out and look at, talking about how the legal establishment in this country has not given up on this fantasy of treaty. And at the heart of it,
there's a lot of money.
But at the heart of it is an ideology that says Australia is illegitimate.
And that's the point.
And that
we've
they
said
want
that
settlements,
all
treaties,
along.
and this background agenda has not stopped. So what I'm saying is people cannot think, oh, no, got up, that's done and dusted. No, it's all there. And you know what the crazy thing, too, is we see echoes of that now echoing into the streets of Sydney and around Australia with all of the arguments around what's happening in Gaza and the Middle East, which is actually quite connected because there's a very similar agenda of anti-civilization going on here.
Well, I can tell you at the Palestinian rallies, you'll see plenty of Aboriginal flags. You'll hear a welcome to country or acknowledgement of country. And certainly last weekend in Sydney, the speeches were all about decolonisations, the evils of imperialism and colonialism. So the same themes.
And yet,
100%. We've actually got to the point, I think, which The Voice exposed, which is really good. Australians have to realise that there is basically an attempt to make our British heritage, our Australian Commonwealth, illegitimate, and to replace it with some Marxist entity built around indigeneity. Australians have to wake up because they're coming for your property rights. They're changing the names of your streets and town. Now Sydney Airport's called something else.
What?
And on.
What?
Yeah, it is. You go to Sydney Airport, it's now called something or other, Gadigal or something. You know, and you try and know where you're going to fly to out of Queensland, and it's a bunch of Indigenous names, which is fine of itself, but it's what it represents. It represents an attack on the sovereignty and the legal framework of this nation. Your land rights are not safe if we go down this route. Well, let's move on.
I just want to say there's one point here, though. This whole thing about this fight about turning everything into a sort of a Marxist conflict about the dispossessed and the occupier. This is the great lie here that's going on here, because when it comes to the Indigenous issue, they say history goes back 60,000 years. When it comes to the Israel issue, they say history goes back 75. And the Jews do not have thousands of years of heritage in that part of the world.
It's not about that. There's no
Not.
consistency. There's no principle. All it is that classic Marxist ideology of the oppressor and the oppressed.
Yes.
So the Jews being successful, they're the oppressors. The Palestinians are the downtrodden oppressed, and that's as far as they look. This is
But it goes beyond that. It goes to white versus any other colour. That's the heart of it.